Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a manga, anime, and now donghua enthusiast, passionate fan, casual lurker, and have never uploaded anything to YouTube before. But I'm willing to give it a try because I want to share a few thoughts after watching the first 2 episodes of linkclick Season 2. Bilibili, one of the main video streaming platforms for linkclick, asked for episode analysis from fans, so here I am. If it wasn't already evident, this video will contain spoilers for linkclick, especially the first 2 episodes of Season 2. linkclick is an original Chinese animation project from 2021 that follows 2 friends, Cheng Xiaoji and Lu Guang, who can travel back in time using photos. Clients seek out their help in hopes of finding new information, insights, or closure from past experiences. As with most time travel narratives though, they can't change past events without risking changing the future. Genre-wise, it's a supernatural mystery thriller and has become my new all-time favorite series across animation and other mediums for its superb personal storytelling, creative and artistic direction, and masterful execution. Also, I don't usually get invested in mystery or thriller series, so for me that's a pretty big deal. There's so much I could say about my feelings coming into this second season, but I'll instead focus on 2 reoccurring motifs I've noticed from the end of Season 1 to the beginning of Season 2. References to children's games and toys, particularly stuffed animals and apples. The first is more salient since the setup has already been referenced as a game, and the second is one I'm curious about to see whether it'll keep coming up. To preface, rather than prescriptive, definitive proof that this is what the creators were going for, these are my own personal interpretations and musings. That said, given the production team's proven attention to detail thus far, I suspect at least some of my associations are on point. So let's run it back from the latter half of Season 1. Cheng Xiaoji and Lu Guang are in hot pursuit of an unknown adversary with the power to possess or take over other people's bodies. In their attempts to capture the criminal, Cheng Xiaoji and Lu Guang set a trap, but the plan backfires, leaving the 2 main characters exposed with little to no information. The criminal, who I'll refer to as Red, punishes Cheng Xiaoji and Lu Guang for cheating in this cat and game mouse of hide and seek. He possesses their friend Xiaoling, and Xiaoling stabs Lu Guang with a fruit-cutting knife, who Cheng Xiaoji finds bleeding out on the couch. The last scene of Season 1, Episode 11, ends with Red speaking through Xiaoling. The game has been reset. Fast forward to Season 2. I'll start with the allusions to toys, games, and stuffed animals, which for me run a little deeper than a surface-level game theory metaphor. So, stuffed animals and games, we see them throughout the OP vortex. 1. The very first and last frames show a falling pink cat plushie, a handheld video game console, and a gun, all of which are housed in a dilapidated arcade. It's worth mentioning that the camera gives special attention and focus to this cat plushie multiple times, underscoring its importance. And if you think about the mechanics of crane games, the player controls a metal claw to grab a prize for keeps, much like how Red tells Cheng Xiaoji in the first episode of Season 2 that he, Red, wants to steal Cheng Xiaoji's ability for himself. I also noticed there are a bunch of plushies outside of the crane game machines, yet the machines are still intact. More thoughts on this that I'll come back to in a bit. Then, at the end of Lu Guang and Xiaolin's 360-degree freefall sequence, the lyrics say, "But I'ma win this silly game. Until then, I will never leave." Pretty self-explanatory, right? Almost halfway in the OP, there's the sequence, depicting a large pair of threatening, glowing red eyes and bangs that look like Xiaolin's, the hooded figure presumed to be Red, who we see throughout the OP, and then this scary animation of what resembles an eyeball, soft body tissue, bones, and an animal skull, all hidden inside of the pink cat plushie. It may even be the same plushie from the beginning and ending frames, but in a 2D styling rather than 3D. And once the song and animation playback in reverse, the eye, soft body tissue, and skull break out of the plushie. But even more striking are the overlapping song lyrics sung when the body parts are first hidden. Take back all my regrets and camouflage it like your silhouette. And then in Season 2, Episode 2, we're shown at least 3 stuffed animals Officer Chen Bin bought for his unborn daughter, 2 pink bear plushies in the home, and the brown deer plushie he just bought, which is shown in the bottom of the paper bag filled with Cheng Xiaoji's new clothing. So again, there's already a case for this straightforward game theory analogy, but what I want to touch on is the potential significance of stuffed animals and plushies. Thinking about how kids play with stuffed animals, or adults, it's not the exact same kinetic interaction or type of manipulation you have with other novelties, like playing checkers, driving a remote control car, or even making arts and crafts. Playing with dolls and stuffed animals, or make-believe, is an imaginative projection of oneself. You know, kind of like possession. As Luke Wong noted right before he was stabbed in season 1, a puppeteer or chess piece pawn analogy comes to mind. And going back to my earlier point about the pile of stuffed animals outside of the crane game machines, to me, they represent discarded or potential pawns for Red to keep using, to keep possessing. And the scariest thing? We still don't know much about him, or all the mechanics of how his power works. Like, can he possess multiple people at a time? And what are the limits to his power, in the same way that Cheng Xiaoji and Luke Wong only have 12 hours when they enter the photo. And another reason why the toys, games, stuffed animals make for an interesting motif. From what we've seen, Red looks younger than most of the main and supporting cast, dresses in a stylish, youthful way, and seems to exhibit a more juvenile temperament. In season 1, Lu Min refers to Red as his friend, and then Red asks Cheng Xiaoji through Chaoling if he's going to be Red's new friend. This, plus other cues, just gives me a sense of like a twisted, youthful, childish demeanor. But we still haven't actually seen that much of him, so to be determined. Now let's discuss apples. They caught my attention at the end of season 1, but their reappearance again in season 2 has really piqued my interest. I'll explain. So toward the end of season 1, episode 11, Chaolin brings out a plate of apples with a paring knife, placing the knife as the weapon used to stab Lu Wong. Interestingly, and maybe I'm looking too much into it, the apples mostly stay in frame focus throughout this scene and into season 2, episode 1, despite other small items immediately being incorporated back into the background. You usually see this with items that characters have or have already interacted with, but even when the focus shifts from the apples to the action happening on screen, the apples are still fairly visible. Then, we see the new lawyer character, Guan Lin, and his accomplice bring Officer Chen Bin's wife a box of apples. In many cultures, boxes of apples or fruit are customary gifts to bring when visiting others, which is totally normal. But then we learn that the box of apples served as a distraction to steal one of Officer Chen Bin's photos, which the adversaries used to possess Officer Chen Bin and kill him by jumping off the roof, as with Emma. So, I'm Korean, and the Korean word for apples is sagwa, which is also the word for apology. It's just a word that I like and an image that I tend to notice a lot since it has symbolism in many different cultures, like the notion of original sin and the fall of mankind. As many Korean words are derived from Chinese characters, I wondered if the association was the same and decided to do a little research. I didn't find the exact same connotation in Mandarin Chinese as I did with Korean, but the potential findings in my very basic research were even more interesting. The Mandarin word for apple is pingguo. Side note, Chinese characters are super cool. The word looks like a fruit tree. Then I looked into extended meanings related to the second character, guo, and stumbled on the following with credit to ES Chinese class on YouTube. Some associated meanings include fruit, apple, result or outcome, consequence or effect, and achievement. Google also suggests that apples are associated with peace and safety in contemporary Chinese culture due to a Christmas tradition. All of these words, their meanings, their contrasts, their contradictions are super interesting to me, and I'll let others decide how to interpret them. Also, the apples were red, like Red's eyes. Coincidence? Yeah, maybe. And on the subject of words, there's one smaller note I want to point out. The number of apples on Chaolin's plate. There are 4 apples, and the number 4 is considered a very unlucky number. In Korean culture, and I think Chinese as well, the word for 4, or sa in Korean, also means death. If you go to Korea, you'll notice that elevators don't have a 4th floor, much like how 13 is considered an unlucky number in American culture, and sometimes buildings won't have a 13th floor for this reason. This is more of a stretch, but the close-up of Officer Chen Bin's photos after Kwan Lin and accomplice steal one shows that there were originally 4 photos and now 3. However, there were more than 3 photos by the rice cooker earlier in the episode. It's just that the important scene panned in on 4 photo holders, so take that as you will. Anyways, that's my initial analysis for these first 2 episodes of Season 2. I'm excited and terrified to see where the story goes. Fridays can't come soon enough. Again, I've never done anything like this before, but this video was fun to make. I don't know if I'll continue with videos. I'm more of a writer and had thoughts about making a blog with similar content analysis on various media I like. We'll see how that goes. Thanks to Bilibili for hosting this fun giveaway, and thanks to anyone that tunes in.